talk about narcissistic provocateurs. This is in the vein of narcissistic people who sort of kind of know they're narcissistic and they say, yeah, I'm narcissistic, I know it, and what does that really mean? Here we have the narcissistic provocateur. As social media and the internet slide into greater and greater toxicity, and internet trolls get more and more airtime in the world, we are definitely seeing the rise of the narcissistic provocateur. They are truly having their golden era right now. The narcissistic provocateur is the person who says outlandish or mean or hurtful or provocative things to get seen and heard and get attention and supply. And now that anyone with a microphone and an internet connection can have, for example, a podcast, the provocateur is sort of everywhere. So, what are they about? The narcissistic provocateur will say, like I said, an outlandish, usually hurtful opinion or position or belief. And then after they say that thing, they sit there quiet for a minute, waiting for people to take them on, which is exactly what they hope for. Narcissistic people love the fight. Conflict is a place for them to exert power and dominance. In that moment of silence, they may have an arrogant smirk, just waiting for someone to take them on so they can gaslight them and establish more dominance and power. In fact, good life hack, folks, the best way to manage a narcissistic provocateur is to absolutely not engage, because you're taking away the only thing they want, which is attention and an argument. Now, sometimes the narcissistic provocateur, they level up a bit. Things like, yeah, I know I'm an asshole. Yeah, I'm a jerk. But I know the truth. So they're sort of trying to preemptively get ahead of what is believed about them and make it their own, sort of making it their own brand. Yeah, I'm a jerk. So what? I have the mic and you don't. It's emotionally stunted and it's exhausting. But that's what that whole gambit is. Sometimes the narcissistic provocateur stuff shows up as an insult. If they know you, if it's someone close to you, they may go after something they know about you. They may, for example, trot out a past vulnerability that you've shared with them or something they know you're insecure about. Sometimes the narcissistic provocateuring is just about putting you into what the narcissistic person thinks is putting you in your place. You may have a job where you work with a narcissistic provocateur. You may have one in your family, or heaven help you, you may be in a committed, intimate relationship with one. These provocateurs typically come off as the annoying, opinionated person in the bar, even when they're sober. Narcissistic provocateurs not only like to hold court, but they also like to launch opinions and positions that are weird, bizarre, or just not nice, and usually at times that it's really not appropriate to do so, and everyone's like, oh God, here we go. And another and quite cruel way that the narcissistic provocateur shows up is that they will bring up, like I said, those old vulnerabilities they know about you or learned about you, your old wounds, the things they know that you're insecure about or embarrassed about, the zinger that has been, I have to say personally, the zinger that has been tossed at me by many a narcissistic provocateur in my life is, how is a shrink who's supposed to know so much about psychology as fucked up as you are? I mean, it stings when they say it. It's meant to. And then they sort of smirk afterwards. I've learned, but it takes me nerves of steel to not respond or cry when the provocateur does these kinds of things. But I know what they're trying to do. They're just looking at you, like I said, like a drunk in a bar, trying to start a fight by knocking off your hat. All I can tell you is calmly pick up the hat and walk away. Don't take their bait. The power move is to not engage. Even though your fight response is screaming, let me at them, let me. It's not that you're just sitting there and taking it. But the real win is that you remember that they did it. You never forget that they're capable of doing that to you, saying that to you, that it's a bell you cannot unring, that they're willing to do anything to get to you so they can get their supply. Now, in the world of social media, or any media, frankly, the provocateur is not going anywhere because they get lots of clicks and likes and follows. It's the nature of the media now. So it sort of rewards and incentivizes these patterns. But in the regular and real world, there are ways to disarm the narcissistic provocateur. So first, second, and third, do not engage. Do something else. I personally, when I'm in the presence of a narcissistic provocateur, I play gin or backgammon on my phone when I'm around one of these people. If for reasons of basic politeness on my side, I need not to be rude, and I have to listen to this person, I may make a, I see. Every so often it's filler. I know that some of you are thinking, I cannot just sit there when someone is saying inflammatory things, provocateur or not. But remember, being a narcissistic provocateur is just being a sort of a constant baiter or a group level baiter. They are posturing. They want to be viewed as the fresh renegade voice, even though they sound completely stupid. If you do not engage with them, it is sort of fun to watch them get frustrated or even level up. You have to hold the line. I fell victim to a narcissistic provocateur recently. I was really tired. I was having a bad day, so my bandwidth was completely depleted. And afterwards, I felt foolish. It wasn't worth it. But if you do get into the mud with them, you are basically telling a toddler that they can go to bed whenever they want and bring cookies to bed. Don't engage. Do something else. Go to the bathroom. Use filler words like interesting, gray rock. If you feel like you are part of the problem, if you don't engage, I understand that. Then you have to engage in whatever manner that works for you. If you are naturally a fighter, then this may be something that works for you. Even you enjoy kind of giving the provocateur their own stuff back. Some people feel like they have caved or they are letting the narcissistic provocateur win if you don't get into the mud with them. Remember, they like the mud. And some folks who aren't narcissistic also don't mind getting in the mud and will keep getting it into it with them. You may also do it to defend other people or to hold a point of view that matters to you. That's your call. Remember that with the narcissistic provocateur, that's it. They want to play this game with you, so it's going to go on eternally. Just make sure you leave the extra time in your schedule when you see them, or you may spend hours having social media battles with them. The narcissistic provocateur will not run out of steam because they're getting energized, because they're getting more supply from the fight. Now next, never get into an evidence-based argument with a provocateur. That, first of all, doing that is engaging with them and it gives them supply. So what you don't want to do is pull out an article from the National Science Foundation or a peer-reviewed article or another reputable source of data or voting records from the Senate and show them the evidence. The provocateur's behavior is not about evidence. It's about the provocateur getting a rise out of you or the other people around them. That's what they like. They like that they can say the inflammatory thing and are waiting for people to take them on. And then there is that next level. When the narcissistic provocateur walks around and says, yeah, I'm a jerk. I just know the truth and I like to share the truth. That doesn't mean that they have insight, that they know that their behavior is bad. They're sort of wearing the jerk badge as a badge of honor. A sort of, okay, if you have to view me as a jerk to feel better about yourself, then I'm so committed to my wacky visionary opinions that I'm willing to be seen as a jerk kind of thing. So no, this isn't them waking up to the idea that they are narcissistic. And that means that now that they see this, that some kind of change will come. What is really interesting is that obviously, since the core of the narcissistic person is shame and insecurity, most narcissistic people do not like it if they are viewed poorly by supply that matters to them. So for example, if they keep escalating their provoking to a point where someone they admire or whose opinion that they value even looks at them sideways and says, damn, wow, what the hell, then the narcissistic person will deflate. Like a screaming, tantruming child, the narcissistic person will escalate. But then once they break something and can see that parent is angry and it's now really disconnecting from them, the screaming child gets scared. Their escalating didn't get them the cookie, and it got them in big trouble. It's the same thing with the narcissistic person. It all comes down to how important you are to the narcissistic person in terms of your status or value. And it is often the loss of other people's regard. For example, someone on social media that matters, or someone at work that matters, that leads to shame. And then because they feel shamed, then they'll often just end up lashing out at you again. So you really can't win. The narcissistic provocateur either surrounds themselves with sycophants and acolytes, like people who kiss up to them. For example, a boss in the workplace might do this. Or they have money, so they can keep picking up the check and keep parasitic audiences of friends around them, and how they use social media and find their support in strangers and followers and online communities. And that can go a far way to really embolden narcissistic provocateurs. So even as you ignore them, other people may not be ignoring them, which just makes their provoking behavior worse. Like I said, we are in the age, the golden age of the narcissistic provocateur. Entitled, selfish, unempathic, unhinged, with little care for whom they hurt, as long as they get the clicks or the laughs or the attention or the arguments out of it. They have no problem disrupting a family dinner or a wedding to have their moment in the egocentric sun. Being a narcissistic provocateur is a pattern that's often seen in vulnerable narcissistic folks who often feel like they're on their back foot and are antagonistic with the world in this sort of begrudging, sort of victimized manner. Again, that is why they posture and say these awful things. And I suppose they must think it is some kind of perfect comedic timing, right? They say the terrible thing. They allow that moment of silence, the pregnant pause, when people can kind of look around and say, did they really say that? Do they really believe that? People are often surprised or shocked or hurt by the narcissistic provocateur. But it is easier to manage these situations when you see it as a narcissistic maneuver. Like I said, don't engage. You can stare politely or stony-faced at them. Don't take the bait unless it really matters to you. Don't engage. Don't try to argue in a rational or evidence-based manner. They aren't arguing the point. That's not what they're doing. They're amping people up and getting attention. So if you try to show evidence, you're doing different things than them. And any of you watching this know at least one person like this in your social circle or in the media or on your social media. In my most recent encounter with a narcissistic provocateur I knew, when I took the bait, I felt all of the sympathetic nervous system bells and whistles, the tension in my chest, the sick feeling in my gut, the constricted throat. I came out of my tiredness, realized it, and stopped. But sadly by then, the provocateur had drawn me out. And when I stopped engaging, he kept walking around and saying, "Ha! Look, I won. I beat you. RAMANI couldn't handle the truth." Mercifully, my phone buzzed and I took the call. It was spam. So on this one, I wanted to thank spam for bailing me out. Social media is filthy with this provocateur stuff. And their provocative performance can often put money in their pockets and waste your time. So don't get into it with them. And you have the ultimate power. You can shut off the provocateur's supply. Thanks again.